Hey, welcome back. In today's episode, we're going to be working on getting the body all prepped. Finished prepping this all up, getting it ready for paint. If you recall, we've done the rough body work, got all the panel lines fitted, everything fit properly, the hood reshaped. Did all that. I have never did fit this as the windshield cowling that will fit up here. I've done a bit of work getting it all straightened out. It just needs to be cleaned up a little bit more, sanded, get that ready so I can paint everything that's got to be red at the same time. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. By the end of today's episode, I think I'll probably just end it, get it all ready and in primer, ready for color coat, and then we'll pick up from there in the next episode. So yeah, I'll just shoot a little bit of the work here and there. Maybe show you a little bit of painting. We're not sure yet, but stay tuned, and I'll be right back. I had the hood glued in here, so I had to go and clean out all the glue, and I re-scribed some of the lines, so I had to make sure that the scribe was all the way down, which is what I'm working on now. So just wanted to turn the camera on, show you a little bit of sort of the prep work that I do before I get it into the first stages of getting some paint on it. More or less, I just try to get the rough work done. All the finishing work with some filler and whatnot is going to happen after I get some primer on it, because you really can't see the flaws that are in the plastic or anything like that. When it's in this stage, everything's too monochromatic. You can't really clearly identify, and you can't tell if you've actually fixed the problem or not, if there's still a scratch or whatnot. So I'll basically just get the rough work done at this point, and then once I'm done sort of cleaning up all the rough stuff, I'll go and wash everything, make sure that I've got it nice and clean, and then I'll use epoxy primer to do my first sealing coat on this. And what that does, I find that stuff sticks best to the resin. See, here's the thing: you just got to go over all the edges, make sure that you've got all the burrs and everything at this point. That's mainly what I'm looking to take care of right now before I get anything on, because once you get it in epoxy primer, or your first whatever primer you use that you find best sticks to this stuff, you want to do all the subsequent body work on top of that primer. So any fillers or whatever will be on top of that primer. It won't be on the base substrate. For the most part, that's the way I like to work. I just find that ensures, like, I know that epoxy primer sticks to this stuff. So it ensures that whatever else you do on top of that is going to remain adhered to the base material. So that's my process. That's my sort of workflow there. So yeah, I'll get this cleaned up. I'll get everything washed and prepped. I'll get the epoxy primer on it, and then right after the epoxy primer, I'll apply a high build primer, and then sand that back, and that will identify, and it's a different color as well. It's a different shade of gray, so that'll identify any high or low spots. That then I'll go in with whatever filler is appropriate for what I'm trying to fix. So that's all I want to do, is just a little check-in, show you what we're working on. That's about all finishing for this piece. That's all done, ready to go. Well, it needs to be cleaned, obviously. I think the hood just needed a little bit of cleaning, and then it was ready to go. Drilled all the holes and everything. There was a bunch of holes. The body main body component. I just got to finish cleaning up the opening here. I've got the top piece. This was a bit of work. It was significantly bent up and had quite a bit of pitting in it, so it needed a lot of cleanup and straightening. Still not perfect, but that's what the epoxy primer and then the high build will help get this smoothed out. But I got it so it fits really good now. And I drilled it. This mounts and has rivets. There's something to point with. Well, you can see the holes there. So I've got those drilled through both pieces, so the rivets will. There won't be what I use to attach it solely, but they will go through both components when it gets mounted. So that's all done. A couple other little components, the rear section, it's all ready to go. It's all been roughed out appropriately. I've got filler in this joint here. It might need a little bit more work after primer, but it's more or less ready to go. Tank I gotta still do a little bit of work on, but basically these two pieces, and then the little air vents on the side just need cleaning up. Make sure they fit. I won't, I'll paint these separate and then install them after everything's painted, just because it would be difficult to paint these if they were installed in the body. So that's the strategy with that. So that's where we're at. So probably the next time you see me, I've done it before. I've shot some video of in the spray booth, but it's a bit of a process to set up my camera to film good in my spray booth. But we'll see. If I feel motivated, I'll get that set up, and then I'll shoot some footage of getting this, getting the sealer coat on, and then getting the primer sprayed on, and so we'll see. So either you're going to see me next little bit will be me talking about it and doing a bit of body work on top of the primer, or I'll show you a bit of the priming process and talk about that. But in any case, we will see you in a minute. It's always important with two-part paints like this, something with a hardener, is to ensure that it's mixed really well. And typically, depending on what kind of paint it is, you need to let it sit for a little while, chemically activate, before you spray it. Zero Paints doesn't tell you what the activation time is on this. I have no idea. I usually just let it sit for a few minutes. Some primers like this are like half-hour activation, but I'm thinking this stuff is not, because I've never waited that long, and it actually goes off pretty quick. So, okay, I find this doesn't have a super long working window. Yeah, so I'm going to put my mask on. I'm spraying everything through a 0.5. This is a Mr. Hobby Pro Convoy PS 290, which is a 0.5 double action trigger style, with a fan tip on it, with the round tip on it. You can get a fan tip. It comes with one for this, which is good for doing your color coats. If you got a compressor that moves enough air, this it uses a lot of air if you have the fan tip on. And I'm running at about 20 psi. Alright, as you can see, we got all the sealer primer on, so now I'm just going to give a coat of high build primer to everything that I want to bodywork. So big projects like this, spray cans work fantastic. They're a lot quicker. So I'm using Mr. Surf 500, which is a good high build primer. So I'll just go and get everything coated with that and show you how I go about that process. Yeah, so there we go. Got fairly heavy coat of this stuff. You know, I'm not too worried about getting it on too thick. There's not a whole lot of detail, especially on the actual body itself, so not too big of a deal there. But the main thing I was looking for, there was quite a bit of surface imperfection, especially on the bottom of this piece. So, you know, I want to try to get build up enough material there that I can start sanding it back, and it'll take care of the, you know, any minor imperfections. It won't get all the big ones on the bottom here, but it'll help identify them so I can come in later and use a bit of filler to find those and to fill them. So this coat, you want it fairly heavy, or I want it fairly heavy. Then I'll sand it back and work it smooth for the final finishing coats. So anyways, that's it for that. Pretty quick and easy. Now that we've got all the primer on, I'm going to get a little putty on, fix up some imperfections and everything. So one of the main benefits of getting everything in primer and doing it now is, or looking for the flaws after you get the primer on, is you can see them a lot better. So, you know, you can see here, I think, if I can get it to focus, you know, there's some minor imperfections here that, you know, show up a heck of a lot better. You can see right here, there's some fairly deep gouges from sanding and body working this. So now, before I even start sanding this, if we remember, I put down a high build primer, which is Mr. Hobby's Surf 500 out of a spray can. So it's a fairly big or grainy surface here. it all needs to be sanded. But even before I do that, like I know that those won't sand out, so I'm just going to throw a little bit of putty on them. So I'm using the Tamiya, just their basic putty. I find that this stuff, they have a white fine putty as well. And there's a couple other options. There are many different things you can be using for putty. But I find this stuff sands really easy, and it's fine enough for the basic bodywork, so that's all I'm going to use here, and it dries really quick, so it's easy to work with. So anyways, I'll just get some work going here. I'll leave the camera rolling, throw some music in the background, and just show you a little bit of how I do this. So like I say, this stuff dries pretty quick, so I only squeeze out a little bit at a time. Sorry, hopefully this will all stay in focus. Thing about using putty, like obviously you need to put enough on that you're going to fill in the imperfections, but you don't want to just glob it on, because that's just more that you have to take off. You can always come by and put more on if you didn't quite get enough, because this stuff will shrink when it dries. So I'd rather not put it on thick and then having a whole bunch to remove. You know, I'd rather do 2 applications. It's quicker in the long run. At least I feel it is. Now, if you remember, we had to do quite a bit of work on this bottom radius here. There's a massive step, so I went at it pretty hard with some pretty coarse sanders. So all things considered, it's actually not that bad. Some pinholes here. Okay, I'll just keep going around everything, get everything filled up, and ready for sanding. All right, so there's all the first pass of the bodywork done, got everything sanded down and ready to go. Just before I go and do it, I just wanted to show there's a few spots where, you know, you burn through and hit the resin, hit the base material, get right through all the primer. So areas like that, I'll come by and reprime them with some of the etching primer, or alternatively, another product I use on the resin is metal primer, such as this. You can get it in the bottles like this. You can get it in spray cans as well, and I find it works really well for. It's sort of an adhesion promoter for resin, because I find the Mr. surfacers don't stick to resin very well. So, but I like using them as my primer. So I'll go in any spots that have bare resin. Now I'll just with the airbrush, I'll just spot prime those areas of bare resin, and then I'll apply another coat of. I'll probably do another coat of 500 over this. And then give it another final sanding, and hopefully that should be the last one before the surface primer, which will be pink in this case because this thing's red. So anyways, that's my little check-in. Next you'll see it should be not really much to show between now and it being in its final primer, which will be next time you'll see it'll be in focus. It'll be pink. So we'll see you in a bit. All right, so there we have it. Got all the body work done. Got in its first coat of surface primer ready for paint, or just about ready for paint. I'll probably, I know I got a little bit of dust in it here and there, which I need to give it a light sand and probably another coat of the pink. But before I do the pink, I'm going to go and finish the inside of the body. So that'll be for the next episode though. So we're going to leave it at that. Hopefully you got a bit of insight on how I prep all the resin, get everything ready for paint, do the body work, and so forth. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.